Joe, when you were growing up in Iowa, were you a big F1 fan then, or how did this all come
You
about?
know, I couldn't find F1 on the TV back then when I was growing up. I remember watching the Indy 500, or Daytona 500, like NASCAR and Indy.
NASCAR,
But
yeah.
F1 was something that really hadn't penetrated, and it's only been in the last few years where it's you see it's actually starting to kind of make its way into America and catch on here.
So when you get into something like this, do you get behind the wheel at all to see what it's like,
Yeah.
from that perspective? And what is it like in that car?
Well, I didn't get into the F1 or the F2 cars. That's something that generally they don't want the director of the film to be doing while shooting. But I did get into some track cars with Lewis and Brad early on, and getting a lap from a seven-time Formula One champion is pretty incredible. And you start to see just how good these guys are at what they do.
So then does that give you ideas? I've got to do this. I've got to show that.
Yeah. You start to just the physicality of being in one of these cars, and just how much, they're like Olympic athletes, these F1 drivers. Their heart rates are at like 170. They lose like 5 or 10 pounds of water through a race, and the forces on their body are tremendous. So we tried to capture some of that in the film. I mean, Brad trained for 4 months to be able to drive these cars, and physically got himself in shape to be able to drive for hours at a time like we need on a shoot.
So how do you pace then? You've done these big films. How do you pace them so that you're not all just drive, 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 and you have that kind of downtime to regroup?
Yeah, I mean, that all starts at the script level. You need to have that rhythm of racing and scenes off the track. You need to make sure that all the races are actually telling story, and you're learning more about the character during the racing. So it's not simply racing for racing's sake, because that's just not interesting, especially in a film. You always need to be telling story. And that's something we did on Top Gun Maverick, and Aaron Kruger, who is also a screenwriter on this. We worked closely with him to make sure we did the same thing here. Because ultimately it can't just be about cars and racing. It has to be about people. And our story is about teamwork and redemption and second chances and all those things that I think people can relate to, and why, they've responded to this film.
So when you have a big star who's also a producer, how does that work out in terms of, no, I want this or I want that? Or, I mean, are they a player with you in that respect?
Absolutely. With someone like Brad or Tom, it's a collaboration. And I find that the best results come from that creative partnership and discussion. And it's good to argue things out and everyone to have their own point of view. And my attitude is the best idea wins. So it's good to have that push and pull. I think it always results in the best outcome.
So are you longing to do a little kind of two-character show now? And you say, no, no, no special effects, nothing like that.
No, I mean, listen, I'm very lucky that I get to work on films at this scale, and I have an incredible crew. And so for me, it's always looking, for that next challenge, and looking to tell a story that deserves to be seen on the big screen, because, now more than ever, the bar is very high as to what gets people out of their homes and to the theater. And I understand it takes a lot of effort to do that. I got 3 kids myself, so I know, we're all busy. And so it's about finding those stories that demand to be seen on the big screen. And so that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Well, keep making them, because we need them. We need
Thank
them
you.
more than ever.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Good luck.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. See ya.